hang on. This is a new fault, the 9, the O, the L, and the full stop. Looks like something may have been spilled on this at some point. Check that one out, holy. Well, Q feels better than it did, I can tell you that much. In my previous Electron video, I cleaned the keyboard PCB and key switches. However, there are a number of outstanding tasks on the to-do list, including cleaning the case and keycaps, converting composite video output to colour, inspecting and adjusting the RF modulator, and making the 9, O, L and full stop keys work again. I'm about to get this Electron washed in the kitchen sink. Obviously we're going to be washing the keys as well as the case. Now, as pointed out earlier, there are some markings on the case. There's a letter V there, and there's also a bit of marking on the bottom of the case, so I'm going to try and remove those markings. Isopropyl alcohol or eucalyptus oil, one or both of those could work quite effectively. This also means I'm going to have to take the main board out of this Electron here. I'll have to do it very, very carefully because I don't want to damage any of the connections, and I need to take this board out anyway to do the LK4 composite mod. There's some more interesting sort of bits and pieces here. Looks like operator 1294 made this molding, so I guess we'll find out how good this molding actually is. I mean, I have no complaints or queries, so molding operator 1294, you've done good, mate, you've done good. Coming back to the keyboard after letting the contact cleaner soak in overnight, it does seem as though the key switches are moving a little bit more freely. So hopefully between that and getting all the 35 years worth of spilt tea or whatever out of those keycaps, we should have a functional keyboard again, which would be absolutely wonderful. Before I get too deep into this, I'm just going to have a look at these things on the back. So you can see here, someone's written, well, that's a mark there. That looks like a letter D, so it looks like someone's given this a D at some stage. Good old IPA. Bear in mind, that's about, oh man, I reckon I've had that bottle since about 2015. In hindsight, I wish I'd bought another bottle prior to all this lovely 2020 being exceptional, but, you know, it is what it is. I tend to use isopropyl fairly sparingly anyway. I tend to atomize it in those little bottles that you may have seen. And yeah, that's done a really good job. In fact, I'm actually wondering, do I just not bother giving this a proper bath? Actually, I probably should give it a proper bath because you can see there's all that lovely sticky kiwi dust in there. I'll just have to be very careful not to damage those labels because those labels are obviously part of the whole history of this machine, and that's the thing too, you've got to be super careful about preservation, even with things like serial numbers and whatnot. So that is the simplest clean you will ever see. That is gone. Gonski. As for this Dymo label, I'm seriously considering just leaving that in situ because it's part of this machine's history. If it falls off, great, not a big deal. If it stays on, again, not a big deal. Stir them around and give them a bit of a soak. I'm almost thinking, do I just, because there are going to be some crevices into which I'm not going to be able to really thoroughly get every single last, well, thoroughly for that matter, get into every single last bit of dust. So I might just give this a quick dunk and just be very, very careful with labels and whatnot. So I reckon I'll just dunk it like that. Oh, hang on. I think I've just worked out why the sink was good. Where'd my water go? What? Oh crap. Oh, I see what's happened here. I'm using the wrong plugs. You know what I'd love to do one day, not with this machine, but what I'd love to do one day with, say, a machine where there's tons of them about and it's not a big deal if I lose a few or break a few things. I'm thinking like a Commodore 64 or something like that. I'd love to try putting keycaps in a washing machine and see what happens. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? I mean, not necessarily in the washing machine loose, rather in one of those little mesh bags that ladies put their under thingies in. So you're not getting bits of key stuck in the drains and everything, because that would be a bit of an inconvenience. So let's give us a very, very quick, and I want to be really careful not to try and minimise the impact on the labels. He says as he drowns some of the labels. How about the other side? At least the serial number is intact, so that's probably a little bit more important, because it's always nice to have serial numbers in place, particularly if you're fortunate enough to have original boxes for a piece of equipment. Spoiler alert, I actually have at least one computer with the original boxes, and it's got the matching serial number on the box along with the computer itself. So that's actually one of the prized jewels in the collection, which I'll show off at some point if I feel like flexing. But that machine also needs a little bit of, well, just a little bit of modernisation. So we're not talking like full-on recaps or whatever, that was already done, but just little things to kind of make it just a little bit, well, make it, well, not a little more, make it a lot more usable in the 21st century, whilst at the same time not destroying originality or anything like that, because it's good to have machines that are usable, but at the same time I'm all about originality. You don't want to just, like, I still cringe at some of the stuff I've done back in the day where I've made modifications or whatever where we've ended up with something that's unoriginal, and I just didn't know any better. I was just so freaking stupid, but that's okay. You'll get to see some of these fails at some point. Again, just to show that not everything is sunshine and unicorn farts in the world of the tube. I wish that hadn't happened. Yeah, definitely not sunshine and unicorn farts in the world of the tubes. I'm going to have to repair that. Yeah, top tip, 35-year-old plastic is usually a little bit on the brittle side, so be really super careful, especially with stuff that's a bit on the breakable side. So in order for the Electron to output composite in colour rather than monochrome, LK4 needs to be shorted. So effectively that's just a bodge wire. Given all the componentry on this side of the board, it's not too tight, but there's still a little bit to work with in there. It might be a little bit easier and cleaner to perhaps go in from the rear. So sometimes it's hard to tell where things are going when you flip a board over. We'll obviously need to find some sort of landmark, as it were, and I'm going to use this LM324N chip as a landmark, because what you'll find here is that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 legs of the pin, plus that small ceramic cap. That's 8, and what we should find is if we go down this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you'll find that there is a corresponding blank pads, or 2 blank pads, which need to be bodged together. This is one of those times where I had one idea in mind, but it appears as though something else occurred to me whilst I was in the process of going forward with plan A. So you'll find this bodge wire, which I had planned on looping around and having nice ends and stuff. The connection that needs to be made is so short, I just thought, well, bugger it, I'll just jump right over it, which is what I've done. So I'll just cut that little piece off there to make sure that it's not going to cause any grief. Left-handed soldering, this may not end well. Right, with that bodge in place, there's really nothing else for me to do except put it back in the Elk's case, whack some power into it, and get it into some sort of composite video type situation, which in this case is going to be a video capture card. Right, I've cleaned the case and the keycaps. I converted the composite video output to colour, and the RF modulator appears to have magically started to work again. Therefore, during this cleaning and other bits and pieces, I must have done something to make it work, so I'll take it. I haven't had a chance to make the 9, the O, the L and the full stop keys work again, and I've also managed to break the case in the process. So yep, there's going to be a part 3 in this Electron series. Until next time, see you later.